Disclaimer, this video is entirely speculation and has no concrete proof that any of what I'm about to say is true, so take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, what the fuck is this? Hello everybody, I'm LECH1503 here. Now this isn't exactly the video I wanted to come back to YouTube with, but I was on my PlayStation the other night, and I was looking around on the eShop as I like to do, to see any deals on or any new games that are available. I just like to keep my eyes open. And as I was looking on the store, I stumbled across one of the games that was a part of the homepage, as Sony has it on their PlayStation. One of the big boy games, you know, the ones you really want to pay attention to, which was a brand new game that came out called TopSpin 2K25 from our lovely publisher 2K, who has made nothing but quality games. Now, one thing caught my eye when I saw this, which was this face. What the fuck is this? Now, as we all know, 2K is a company known for making sports games and have recently released TopSpin, another sports game to add to the bargain bin in a couple of years. Apparently TopSpin is well known, or at least well liked. But why am I talking about it today? Well, it's because the box art looks very much like it was AI generated. And when looking online to see if anyone else had anything to say about this, I found nothing. Nobody is talking about this, especially when they're charging 120 Australian dollars or 60 American dollars for the base edition. Because, you know, it's 2K and they love their fucking money. Now, this is the same company that was also responsible in 2K21 by putting mid-rolls in between matches because they wanted to make the experience more authentic. This is clearly a company that only cares about the bottom dollar. As I said before, this isn't exactly the video I wanted to come back to YouTube with. You know, I've got other videos planned that are of more substance, let's say. But I saw nobody talking about it. Like, occasional comments, maybe? Maybe Twitter freaked out about it, but I couldn't find it. And they even have a video on their YouTube channel showing off the game, and it's box art that I believe is AI generated. And still barely anyone talks about it. Feels like they've gotten away with it. So I thought today I'll go through the video with you and maybe go through why I think this is AI generated besides just this fact. And how I think they've used certain techniques to hide the fact that they're potentially using AI generative art for their box art, so they don't have to hire actual artists or pay for photo shoots for their box art. So, with this video, creating the cover art for TopSpin 2K25, designed and produced by Design by Distribution. Now, this is the video that I think is why people don't believe it's like their box art is created with AI, because as you can see in that video, they show you the sketches of the pieces. It's clearly done by a real person, and you know that it's a bit rough around the edges, and then it gets really polished up, and it looks just like real life. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that don't add up with this. First off, the sketch we see of his lower body in his hand. The logo is, of course, very unrefined, but of course it could be a sketch. As well as a lot of this just having a lot of unrefined elements to it. Again, it could just be a sketch that they've polished up a little bit for the trailer. You know, it's advertising. You might not want to use actual sketches for it. Then as we go through step by step, suddenly the thumb changes, all the line work disappears for a more painterly style, or more realism. Again, could have just been a sketch, could have been rough outline that they sent over to get an idea of whether or not poses were correct. As you can see, the logo on his shirt has changed to a more polished version. Again, it could just very well be that company, you know, wants to have a more refined version or something like that for their brand. Completely fine, you know, brands can be a pain in the ass. But then we go further. All the orange color in that disappears for very washed out colors. And again, maybe this is color grading, or maybe it's something to do with the way it's all blended together that produces this more washed out feel, or maybe whoever was in charge of facade or branding wanted it to be more washed out to seem more realistic. But for the same time, a lot of this feels like it fundamentally changes and adds and loses texture out of nowhere, really. All to try to allegedly hide the fact that this is all AI generated. Then we move over another player they show off, Francis Tiafoe. I'm sorry if I butcher the pronunciation. Now, as it starts, again, we don't see any actual rough sketches or anything. But then again, it's a marketing piece. You probably don't want to have real rough versions of anything here. Again, we're trying to advertise the work, not show anything too rough around the edges, or else people might think you're incompetent or something like that. So instead, we get a pretty rough version without any real line work. As we go through, there's more shading applied to the image. There's hints of green bounce light. There's a nice choices of color throughout the entire piece. It might not look photorealistic, but it looks like someone painted it with some decent colors. It might be rough in certain places depending on your standard, but you know, it doesn't look terrible. And then all of a sudden, it switches to this almost photorealistic version of the player with all those colors that were previously there completely muted. You see, if I put this into my drawing software, so you see here, I've got these two different images that are basically back to back in with each other in the marketing material. And I'm just going to grab the color from under the guy's eye. Now you see you've got a nice brown color. Another here, and then we have a more muted brown, even though it's roughly around the same area. And again, this could solely just be a case of the final product being color-corrected decision later on when the piece was more finalized, as they might have believed it to look more realistic with more muted color. But at the same time, that also doesn't stop the fact that the illustrations that are shown at the end almost having no real texture in the end, but being really smooth and plasticky, which is closer representative, something we see with AI generated pieces of work or AI generated art. What I believe has happened instead is they had an AI be trained on all the athletes being used for the box art. AI generate a bunch of poses that they would then use for the box art. Now again, there's no horrendous pieces like body parts melding together or extremely horrible hands, but at the same time, what you're getting isn't exactly good either. Instead, for the trailer, what I think they're doing is just getting that final AI generated piece that they would then use for the box art, and then having someone trace over it, which is probably a lot cheaper than just hiring an artist or photographers with the athletes for a day to get proper high quality pieces for the box art. And to prove that I'm not talking out of my ass when I say that these are just traced over, I'll do it right now! And as you can see already, by just tracing over one of the same ones that they use in the video, we've got something similar to what they were showing off originally. Now, yes, this is rough around the edges, but the other ones that they show off to be with originally are also rough, because I think they're trying to say that these are the original sketches. And as you can see, with not much effort, you can get something similar, not as good, but you can get something similar to what they produce in their own trailer with not a lot of effort. So you could easily hire a cheap artist or maybe even someone off Fiverr to quickly trace over the AI generated stuff, add some color, add some shading. Also that you can have an advertising piece that makes it look like you've actually drawn your box art. Remember, these are the same company that tried to put mineral ads throughout your gameplay. They will try to cut any corner they can so that they can get more money. Why else would they have so many microtransactions? Why else would they try to put mid-roll ads in and then immediately take them away the moment people complained? This is them testing the waters on how they can fuck over workers and consumers, but nobody's talking about it, and I guess it's because they either fooled people, nobody cares because it's a sports game, or nobody cares because it's not affecting the gamer. These are still hard-working people that work hard for the entertainment we consume. And are we okay by just throwing them away the moment we don't care enough about it? Yeah, sports games aren't great, but if this is true and they are actually using AI generative images for their box art, it's only a matter of time before more companies start doing it. And are we okay with that? The time to vote with our wallets is now. And while yes, it's a sports game that doesn't have many copies, they're okay with printing it out and putting it on store shelves. They're okay with charging $60 American for this box art and games that have the visuals on par with a PS3 game. And I don't like to use those types of arguments lightly. I find that most people that use them overuse them and say stuff is worse than it actually is. But yet this game has similar, if not worse looking visuals than the London Olympics 2012 game from the PS3 generation. And it seems like we're just okay letting them do this. Nobody's calling them out for their AI generative stuff. I've heard nobody talk about how the game doesn't look particularly great for a $60 game released on the PS5 and PS4. And yeah, they're sports titles, but at the same time, they're succeeding in what they're trying to do by cutting corners and getting rid of actual artists or other workers so that they can get more money. So that the companies and shareholders can get all of your hard-earned money. And we can say vote with our dollar, but if we don't do it now, we'll end up in the similar situation we are now with microtransactions. I'm sorry that I'm yelling at you, but it's solely because it seems very much like they're getting away with it, and it's pissing me off. And if you don't believe me about like how quickly they could turn around a bunch of these traced over images and quickly add some shading to it similar to what's seen on the AI generative image to allow them to make an ad that makes it look like they've actually made these images. I've posted the entire video unedited of me tracing over Ronaldo for this example. And it took me barely any time at all. So that's clearly a saving for them if they can get away with it. Just, train an AI on these athletes, make some poses, maybe base it off of a couple of images or some quick sketches. Then get a Fiverr artist or a cheap artist to quickly trace over them and shade over it to make it seem like they've actually put in the effort to draw all of these. Again, if somebody did do it, I would love to know that. I'm perfectly fine saying that I'm wrong, and I think the only way I can believe it is if somebody actually shows me the layer files of all of these illustrations to prove to me that they are actual drawings, and not AI generative bullshit to screw over actual artists. Now, this video did end differently, but I didn't like it, and also I had to cut out another piece of the video for pacing and just because it didn't really fit. So to end the video, I just want to say that my thoughts of AI tools and AI generation are a bit murky, to say things, or a bit complicated. You see, at one hand, feel similarly to Joel Haver, who uses Epson. He draws frames, but then uses a software called Epson to AI manipulate those frames, similar to the Damadere meme a while ago. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. To make something that seems animated. Now, does it look as good as some of like other animated projects? Of course not. But for the amount of time and the team that he has, which is very small, it allows for him to make something animated, or at least seem animated, or to have different types of characters without actually having to have the budget for the types of projects he wants to make.
George? I'm dying, Theodore.
But at that same time, what 2K are doing is not trying to assist artists, or that they don't have the capital to actually hire the artists needed to make box art or to make the work that is required for making this game. Instead, what they're doing is trying to increase their bottom line by using AI generative art. And what I want this video to be is for there to just be something out there that shows that we're not okay with having AI generative work take over the role of artists and take away their jobs, just so a big company who sometimes earns over 7 million annually can save a couple more bucks when hiring people. I think it's disgusting and we shouldn't put up with it. At the end of the day, I believe that AI tools should be in the hands of artists instead of replacing them by big corporations who think they don't need artists. At the end of the day, if we follow that train of thought, we'll get nothing but soulless pieces of garbage. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed or at least found it informational, or hopefully, 2K gets called out for their bullshit. Thank you for watching. I've been LXH1503, signing off.